when threats emerge in the universe. When conquerors approach and the danger is high. When you have to face powerful rulers who want nothing less than complete control of the universe. Then you have to come together and work as a team. You have to dig deep, find your resolve and your courage. You have to understand your enemies and how to stand against them. You have to be bold, decisive, and brave. And you have to be ready to be part of the universe's most legendary defender. Then, when the universe needs you, you can form Voltron, the greatest hope of the universe, is coming to a role-playing game made by Catalyst Game Labs, publisher of acclaimed games including Shadowrun and Cosmic Patrol. Catalyst brings an all-new rules system that emphasizes the teamwork at the heart of Voltron and also allows for awesome displays of power from the universe's greatest defender. Whether you want to play in the original Defender of the Universe setting or the newer Legendary Defender series, a core book will be available for your preferences to help you explore a galaxy full of adventure. While the core game focuses on the paladins who join together to form Voltron, you can play as other characters such as nobles, cadets, or members of the Blade of Mamora, spinning out galaxy-spanning stories that encounter all manner of planets, creatures, and possible threats. The dice core system used in Voltron, the role-playing game, is easy to learn and use while providing great depth of play. As you roll a pool of 3 dice determined by your skills and attributes, your decisions and circumstances can make those dice better or worse, so what you choose can have an instant impact. Back now and join the fight to defend the universe.
Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday Newsday. Sorry for the delay there with the end of the video. My puppy's being naughty, and so I had to go pick him up before I took us live. I'm Rem. I'm the community and marketing director for Catalyst Game Labs, and this week, I have a special guest with me, Christopher Frye from Liya. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to learn all about all things Liya and how our minis are made and stuff like that since they're so widely popular. So I'm excited to talk to you. But first, I have a couple of news items. PAX Unplugged, I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but PAX Unplugged is the first weekend of December. We will be live streaming there from the booth. So if you're there, come see us and, walk by so you're on stream. And then we are also going to be doing the live stream, so we're going to do all of our announcements for 2025 that we're allowed to talk about. So it's going to be a big streaming time. I'm going to try my hardest this week to go ahead and set up the YouTube link so you guys can follow it and get reminded. So that all of that is there, but there's some really exciting stuff coming for all of our lines and some brand new ones too. So you definitely want to tune in for that. We'll be getting the schedule for it out on socials too, so if you're more interested in hearing about BattleTech than RPGs or vice versa, then you know when to tune in. Voltron, the RPG, we just finished the intro video with our updated voiceover. That is launching. We have a date now, as long as all approvals go well with NBC, first week of December. So that's when that'll be launching. You can follow the project. The link is in the description. I've got some exciting news. We got a shipment to our warehouse yesterday that includes the store retail grinder kits. So retailers out there, there's going to be 800 that are getting ready to ship as soon as possible to ACD, Alliance, and Peach Hobby Distribution. Peach State, Peach Hobby, I don't remember how it's called.
Peachtree.
Peachtree? Okay,
I think it's
Peachtree.
Peachtree, but they may have changed the name.
Okay. And they're but there you're going to be able to get store retail grinder kits through there. It's one per store. And then we have 200 set aside for our demo agents as well. So anyone that wants to go run these at their stores, they can do that. You can just email your the demo team lead. You guys have that email. Great. Next news.
That's Peach State to be the
Peach
player.
State.
Peach State.
It is
Yes,
Peach
ma'am.
State. Okay.
Yep, Peach State Hobby Distribution.
I never say it right, ever. New BattleTech releases. So we weren't here last week because of travel for me. So what we've seen on our store that's dropped, surprising me, we got the BattleTech t-shirt for Karita is live on the store.catalystgamelabs.com. The trilogy, The Founding of the Clans, is now on the online store, so you can get that there. And then our releases for the end of October were the BattleTech Battlefield Support Deck Revised, the Technical Blueprints, the Commander's case, that's the carrying case for minis, that's been doing really well, and Force Manual Karita. So all of those are available. Oh, the paint set, the Mercenaries paint set in partnership with Army Painter is now on. I'm not seeing Karita on here, so I'm going to message Talon and yell at him. Just because I don't want to forget. Karita FM not on store. So yay, we're excited about all of the new product that's dropped. The dice trays for 40th anniversary and 35th anniversary for Shadowrun and BattleTech are on there. So go check out everything. Our releases for November are coming up. So November 27th, Shadowrun Tarnished Star is the book that is all about law enforcement in the Sixth World. So that'll be released. BattleTech Hotspots Hinterlands should be releasing. And then exciting news, finally, for our international fans, BattleTech Essentials is coming to retail. So that's November 27th that will open up for distribution. Yay! So that's all the news on the releases. The only other thing I have to talk about, and I have a link for you guys for this, is there is a Humble Bundle for Shadowrun. So Shadowrun Fiction Mega Bundle. So if you want to support Humble Bundle, they're great. We've worked with them a ton. We want to keep working with them, but go get all of the fiction. I'm going to drop that link in chat. Boop. Oh, it's not letting me because it's too long. The link is too long. I wonder if I can get... Let me know if this link works. If it doesn't, I did the short one. If it doesn't work... Okay, it does work. Yay! There we go. So that's live. Oh, Karita is in the store. Okay, it might be further down than I scrolled for some reason. Usually if you go to our online store and you hit search and just hit enter with the field blank, it shows the newest releases, and I didn't see it at the top, so I assumed. All right, so in the meantime, while we talk to Chris, that's all our news. So as we move over to our interview, feel free to drop questions in the chat for the moderators, and they'll feed those to me for the end of the stream, as long as I have that pulled up. There we go. And hi, Chris. How you doing?
Hi. Great.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this last minute with me.
Oh, not a problem. Anytime.
A couple weeks ago, I lost one of my guests, and I was like, hey, Chris, can you do it? And he didn't see the message until after the show. So he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'll get you back on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Awesome. So I kind of want to learn, before we get into all the BattleTech details and all the Catalyst details, I want to kind of hear about you. What exactly do you do with Liya?
Oh, so I basically do all the business development. I do a bunch of stuff. So what I got hired on to do was get new clients, sales, business development. That evolved into a wider scale of business development with multiple clients and contracts and IPs, and then also project management. So I handle the project managers as well. Plus I work on communication between, so Liya is made up of, so the owners at Liya, Linda, She's a great lady. One of the most smartest people I know as far as that goes. She owns a factory in China, and years ago, she started as a broker, then bought a factory, and she's been doing this for like 20 years. And she decided to move out of China. She kept the factory and opened up an office in America with her family. So we are Liya USA, and we own our own factory over there, and that does all the injection, assembly, tooling, and everything like that. Um, I hit the wrong thing on there. Sorry about that. And then, um, so she had a need for hiring somebody that actually go out and be social and be the face of the company. So that's what I do. I go out and I talk to all of our customers worldwide. I handle our project managers. I'm the in between. I communicate with the different factories too if we have partners that we need to work with. And then I go to the trade shows too, and I man the booth and meet new people and talk to people. We're not really big about cold call sales. We do more referrals, and we have a very specific niche. We do plastic. That's our thing. So, and because of capacity, we try not to go out and fish everybody. So you won't see 50 of me running around a show. You'll see me because we don't take every project on, because if we did, it would just hurt our clients. So there's a little bit different there with Liya. But yeah, that's what I do. I just manage everybody and just, keep us moving forward. Like I always tell them, I keep the machines busy and the people fed. That's what my job's supposed to do.
Awesome. Cool.
So,
So how did you get into this line of work?
uh, so after I left the military, I got a job at Pepsi, and that's where I learned a lot of people skills and worked on sales and stuff like that. I did that for quite a few years, and then when I left Pepsi, I was gaming and playing a game called Battlefront Miniatures, which is a Flames of War thing. And my friends and I, there was a job opening, and my friends actually thought it'd be funny if, and this literally true happened. They were helping me with my resume, because none of us know how to do resumes, right? It's the thing. And they're like, "Oh, we got your resume," and they're going to help clean it up, right? I'm like, "Hey, I really appreciate it," because after Pepsi, I was really down on my luck on that stuff. They sent my resume over to Battlefront New Zealand, and Battlefront New Zealand was looking for opening a U.S. office, and so I get a random call from John Paul over there, and he's like, "Hey, I'd like to interview you," and I'm like, "For what?" Like I didn't even know, and then I'm like, it was just one of those things where it came there. So I got hired on Battlefront. I ran that for 4 years. They moved to Delaware. At that point, I had built a reputation up, so I got recruited by Sherry over at Private Press. So I worked at Private Press for a few years, and then from there, I actually got a call from Mr. Catapano, and I took over eFigures distribution for 10 years until Mr. Catapano died, and then had a lull. And then John Kovaleski over at Monster Fight Club, everybody knows him, right? Yeah, everybody's favorite. He knew Linda, and Linda was really looking for somebody that was my skills. And so he recommended Linda. I went through like 9 interviews with her. And I've been here, I think, 8 years now. And I think this is my forever home.
Oh,
I like
awesome.
manufacturing. It's the best part about manufacturing that people don't realize is I get to see everything. So when Rim goes to PAX Unplugged, I don't think I'll be there this year, but when Rim goes to PAX Unplugged and she tells you all the cool things, the spicy things that Catalyst is doing, I've known about it for a year. So I have to be able to keep my mouth shut and not tell the secrets. But definitely want to tune in when she goes to PAX Unplugged, because Lauren has been busy. He's been busy.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great time to log in there for the PAX Unplugged.
I like that. That just I should have had the link live for you to come on. That would have boosted the follows.
Oh, not a problem. That's just, it's I'm excited for it. So
I met Chris Gamma this year and
yeah.
walked on over to that booth, and that's where I first saw the 4-inch Mad Cat.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So you got time for that story?
I've got time for you.
All right. So Mad Cat actually was a surprise for Lauren. So like he said, the first Kickstarter, we were a little bit behind on stuff. And Linda's a very traditional person. If we mess up, she wants to make up for it. So we were a little bit behind on some things, nothing major, but we got there. And she decided that we want to experiment with something, and we want to give him a thank you for doing so much with our business. Because Lauren, we do a lot. We do, other than Leviathan, pretty much Liya does about 99% of all the plastic injection for Catalyst games. So we work with them, and we're really happy. So we decided to take the Mad Cat Timberwolf, modify it, increase the size. We did all the tooling for it, actually injected the whole thing, and then I had lunch with him in Tacoma. We had lunch, and I said, "Hey, We want to say thank you. Here's a 4-inch Mad Cat. And his eyes got so big I mean, we were having lunch and he had his little hamburger and he was not supposed to have fries, but as long as his wife doesn't know, he's okay. And he had this 4-inch Mad Cat, and that just evolved and we knew about that since the first Kickstarter. And so we had to keep our mouth shut on that one. I have too many secrets. I hate it. Um, so we produced, I think over 40,000 of those for the new Kickstarter because there was so many activity on it. And that was it. It was just a whole thank you that he said, no, this can't just be for me. It needs to be for all the players. We need to get this out for everybody. And so, people don't remember that, but that was here you go. Thank you for being fans. And
that's awesome. I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Aw, thanks, Lauren. I still don't have mine. I want mine, but I did ask Adam at Army Painter if he'd paint one for me, and he said he would. So.
I've seen Adam's work. That'll be good. Yes.
Awesome.
That'll be good.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So you mentioned kind of how you got into the biz. Now, does Liya go beyond gaming manufacturing or?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have some work we do outside gaming. We have some. We do a lot of. So one of the things about working with overseas accounts, right, or overseas production facilities like ourselves, a lot of people don't want to deal with the communication aspect, and that's why we have Liya USA. And so every one of my project managers, they all speak English and they all speak Mandarin and Cantonese, so they can communicate back and forth. And so we have a lot of clients that Linda's worked with over the years where we do clothing, hats, textiles, certain things like that, where they're just communicate with us, say, hey, could you broker or could you handle things? Because our factory, and there's YouTube videos all over on my international page that show our factory, and that has a tooling injection. But when people say they come to us, like we produce the scroll. So the scroll that you guys are doing, we took care of that, but we didn't actually make that. I don't have woodworking in our factory. I don't have the scroll stuff. And anybody that tells you, oh, we do everything, that's not happening. You can't put resin ties in the same place you're putting a Heidelberg $2 million printing machine. Mm-hmm. It's toxic. It's going to get into the chemicals. It's going to there. You can't have certain chemicals around painted materials because like the grinder kits you guys are about to see, those are injected colored with washing. If you have a toxic atmosphere in there and those go to get testing, they're going to fail the test. So certain things that adults have, has to go through certain testing. Things that kids have, they go through a different testing. So we do board games and stuff like that. We work with Asmodee Global that does all the Ticket to Ride, Member 44. We produce hats and just all sorts of things, anything wants. But the key point, the reason we do that is because people don't want to deal directly with a factory. They'd rather deal with somebody they trust. And then we have the responsibility of making sure the project's clean and passes all its inspections and gets delivered on time.
Cool. Wow. There's always so much more behind like all the steps and like it's like when you do food service for the first time and you're like you have to handle like when the health inspector comes and OSHA right. and all of these other things behind the scenes that like you just don't think of when you go in as a customer. So neat. Yep. All right. So as you when you joined Liya, was Catalyst already a customer?
Yes, actually, Catalyst was a customer. We've been with Catalyst. I don't think we were the first one. I believe Panda was the first one that started dealing with Catalyst, and then Lauren. I don't think people realize this about what he's done, but because I've been with Battlefront prior to press, I've been in the miniature side for almost 30 years. I've seen companies develop. I worked at eFigures Distribution. We only did miniatures, so I watched people grow. Right. And we were the first ones that distributed weird miniatures. We were the first ones that distributed Corvus Belli miniatures. We took the investment and getting company there. One thing that people don't realize is that Lauren actually kept Catalyst going during COVID and he had a vision. So he made sure to reach out to the different communities and the retailers and the distributors when everybody else was slow. And one of the things that I witnessed firsthand, which was almost like a blessing, was Lauren and Randall's ability to capture the customer base that's watching this that were stuck at home. They kept feeding them information, but at the same time, Lauren was feeding development at the same time. When we were able to get back to work in the factory, we kept working on project and tooling while everybody else was closed.
Gotcha.
And there's a few other companies that did that. Now there's a lot of companies that said, oh no, we're not going to do anything. Like puzzles were really popular back then, right? So they weren't producing anything that was helping the market. So when COVID stopped, people didn't have anything to do. Lauren had product already on the water for people to play. And so that's when the stores opened up. They had a great product. And that to me helped BattleTech gain momentum in the miniature world because he didn't stop. He knew his vision was good. He had a great team. Randall, Talon, you guys were all there. He just kept feeding you guys information. And even though nothing could get out to the retailers, which is the core of our community, right? We all know without retailers, you have no community. And this is a community-based game, right? So he kept feeding it, and that's what grew it. And then so COVID ended, and then boom, you have 30,000 players that weren't being, starved the whole time. And I think that was something that people missed that a lot.
That's
on
awesome.
that aspect.
Okay. So kind of seeing all of this come to fruition, what are some of walk us through the process of like, okay, Lauren has a harebrained idea, or Randall or Ray or whoever, and they call you for the first time to say, can we do this? What does that look like? Let's start with just minis, because I know you've done some really cool stuff for us outside of minis, but let's just talk about the minis process.
Well, so if you really want to know what it looks like, let me give you a visual. Generally, when that idea happens, it's somewhere between 11 p.m. and maybe 1 a.m. in the morning, and I'm sitting here like this, and then all of a sudden my phone rings and it's Lauren. Hey, what you up to? And he's like, I'm thinking this, and he pitches it, and he's excited about it in the middle of the night. He's decided, and I love it, right? And I'm like, okay, great, let's get some files. And then that falls back. So he's come up with the idea. Then that falls over to Randall, who basically gets the files, and Talon helping out now.
What
And
files
then
are these?
so this will basically be your initial thing will happen, and Mike also does this too with board games, is the first thing you do is you tell us about it. And then they have a project manager, John Dudley handles all their projects. So they will send over what's called a spec sheet. And a spec sheet will actually have the information like, okay, we want to have 4 models. Here's the comparisons to it. We'd like to have what we call STL files. And those are the files that people have that show us what the model height is and the complexity of it.
Right.
So we'll get the spec sheet. We'll say it's going to be a force pack with 4 models. I want it in a tray, lid, and a windowed box. And there's going to have these many cards, and that's contains on the spec sheet. I want this many per carton. So we take that spec sheet. It goes through a quoting process. We'll quote it. The next step is they send us the actual STL files if they haven't already. Then what we do is we resize those files, right, and make them ready for manufacturing. Because even though, when you guys go online, you get these STL files, the ones you buy online are not manufactured because we have steel molding. Actually, they use a different molding. We use a different molding for BattleTech a little bit, but it's steel, and that we put a polyurethane copy of that model in there, and it goes through a lava process where it makes the mold, and then we take that mold. We make what we call T1s, T3s, T4s. These are test samples of that. And then those get sent over to Catalyst proper. And they're like, yeah, these are great. We want to go with this. Or, hey, can you redefine the missiles a little bit better here or adjust the cockpit? So once those are approved, they get to TNs. Then TNs go through the injection process. And the injections, when you see those big machines, we actually have this, they're so heavy, we have a crane that goes over it. You can see some in our videos. And they put this in the machine, and then it basically injects the plastic, and the plastic will come off kind of soft sometimes. Sometimes you'll see it put in the water to cool off, or they'll clip them apart, put them in bags. Now, part of that quoting process is a price of a model are not all the same. How many assembly steps, the weight, the size, all of that will determine the price. We did a miniature that took we did a 28 millimeter miniature that had 37 assembly pieces. And when you look at assembly pieces over here, you mind if I show somebody else's product?
Go as long as it's not directly compete. No Cyberpunk Red. No GW.
No, this is just showing us something that they're probably not going to see this. This is a Stormlight miniature. It's kind of hard, but this piece alone has like 19 pieces. And the idea behind the assembly pieces is you can't see where the arm joints are. So if you look at the BattleTech, like here's one for Tiny Tina. It's painted, right? You can't see where the joints go into the chest.
Yeah.
That's part of the tooling process. And so that's why you have multiple pieces on there. And go from there. Get this out of the way. So that affects the process there. And then once it goes from tooling, it goes into cleaning, quality control, double check there's no problems. Then it goes to assembly, and you'll see some videos where there's people and they assemble. One person will take this leg and assemble into this piece, or this arm into that. Then it goes to the next phase. And so assembly takes a while. Then it goes back to QC again. QC quality control checks it to make sure everything's assembled there. And then it goes into if it needs to be painted or, well, painted we do before assembly. But for the most part, then it goes back into packaging. And then packaging is when you see the assembly lines where they just put all the pieces on trays, and those goes into the cartons and get wraps up and shipped out.
Okay.
So that's the whole process for that.
Wow. Huh. So with all of these steps and everything, and having them
Right.
pre-assembled, there are other minis games out there that have much more expensive packs of plastic.
Mhm.
What do you think? Like, and a lot of those are unassembled. You have to build them yourself and mold line and
Right.
all that stuff. What do you think? Like, I'm just curious because I don't know the answer. Like,
Why are they so expensive?
why is that so disparate from what Catalyst has?
So one thing that again, every game company is different. Lauren, like yourself, you're working from home right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Randall works from home. Lauren doesn't put a capital expense into a big fancy building. One of the reasons you see some of these Kickstarter companies fail is because they go out and the first thing they get $2 million. I know, yeah, there's one I won't mention the name, but we watched it happen. They were one of our customers. First thing they did is go out and get a big office building. New chairs, new desks, computers, everybody goes to the office and works Monday through Friday. Okay. Well, that causes an expense. And with our industry, money comes in when product ships out.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're doing a Kickstarter, you don't get that product out for a year or more. You're still paying that monthly expense of all that office space, electricity, utilities, everything like that. And so Lauren could have done that and decided, you know what? I trust my employees. I'm going to hire people that can manage themselves in a way of being self-sufficient or self-motivating, right? A certain type of people like you and I, we can work remote. We don't have to have somebody watching us every day to make sure we're doing our job, right?
Right.
So by Lauren not making that capital investment into a big, huge headquarters. So like another company has a huge headquarters in UK. They have a huge headquarters in Tennessee where they do their sales staff in there. They have multiple facilities around the world. They have retail stores that have overhead. They have all this stuff. So the bigger your overhead goes, the bigger your investment in your infrastructure is why.
So what I'm hearing then is it isn't necessarily the process or the plastic or the product. It's having to raise prices just to pay off your expenses.
Well, it's also that too is one of the biggest ones in the industry has their own factory in the UK that they do injection. So where we have multiple clients that pay for our factory
Right.
use and overhead, they're their own client.
Gotcha.
So that has to go into the product cost there. So if Catalyst had its own factory, now you're dealing with the 150 people that are assembling and packaging your product and painting it and doing everything there. You're dealing with the overhead, your insurance, your OSHA, your certifications, everything. Where we can actually spread that cost amongst a bunch of clients, that would be only underneath that one. And so that's one of the reasons you see. Plus, if people have a stock market, then you have investors. Outside investors want to see profit, right? You have to increase your cost to make sure that you're covering your overhead and generating a profit for those investors.
Cool. Okay. All right. So in terms of, so we talked about the plastics process. So what happens, like, you guys, probably publicly, we've only talked about it a little bit. Wait, there's a bigger one. Did you guys do the Presenter Marshall edition of the Universe book? Was that you?
No. So I don't want to say the name of the person because I don't know if it's public. You guys have a factory that does all the printed materials for the big books.
Gotcha.
And that's a different factory.
So the Dragon Scroll, though.
That was us.
So
a partner.
let me explain this to our audience because not everyone has seen it yet. So at Gen Con, we did a pre-release of this Shadowrun Dragon Scroll. So it's like a wooden scroll with parchment. It's 7 feet long or 8 feet long or something like that. Beautifully illuminated and designed, and it's readable in AR. And the artist is Echo Chernick, who's just phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's double-sided on top of that, and it comes in a little case, or a little, it's going to come in a case. The ones at Gen Con just had a little slip bag. So totally different than miniatures. So
Yes.
what was that process like when Lauren called you?
So you remember how we said that when a client uses us because they don't want to talk to a random 6 different factories to
Right.
get something done, right? So I actually have some videos I'll post later on. That is it's a fabric scroll. And I think it's like 10 feet long or 8 feet. It's at least 8 feet long because I had it across the table. It's got it rolls up on itself with a ribbon. So then it's put into a bag with a tray, and then we have wooden boxes that are being flame covered there's a laser engraving, and then they have a flamer. They're taking a torch and doing a burning effect over the
Oh,
boxes. I just saw
cool.
the videos of that.
Cool.
So let's take about that process though. Linda, being the contact, we have Nancy Felicity. We have a great crew over in our factory that communicate with multiple other factories. So we had to go to a factory for the fabric. That's all that fabric company does is do the fabric, right? Then we had to go to another factory to get the container part, the end caps part, and the ribbons done. Then we had to go to another factory to get the wood because that's all that factory does is the wood. Remember when I said no one does everything?
Yeah.
It's you have to connect those. So our job is to connect all the different factories. Then we take all those parts and they come back to our factory and then we assemble them. That way we can do the final QC. And generally when we do that, we ask for anywhere between 2 to 10% because there's a quality control check every time. And some things have, I think that one had some learning curves for one of the partners. And so we got a little bit extra on that because sometimes a box won't be right. And we're like, nope, we got to reject it because we don't want to send out the faulty material, something bad. So Liya contacted at least 4 partners, got them to contribute what they needed to contribute there. We handle all the billing, we handle everything. And we handle all the responsibility of making sure the end result is, and then we ship it out to you guys.
Cool. Wow. Whew. I'm glad.
And then of course, Randall has to talk to one person.
Right.
Talon talks to one person. And that's the streamline part. That's why when you have a partner like Liya who takes care of multiple things for you, you're not calling 15 factories for something.
So have there been products then? Because clearly, like, you can make anything possible, but I know price sometimes is a thing. So are there times when, like, Randall or Lauren have called you with, like, I have an idea, and you're like, sure, we can do it. Here's the quote from everyone of what it's going to cost, and they're like, we don't want to have to charge that much for something, or like, is there anything that's been like that?
No, there has, but it's not released. It's basically what's come out is we need to get a certain price point because one of the things that Lauren is keen at is he knows how to negotiate too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he's like, well, what if I bought an extra 10,000 of these? Can I get a better price? Or what if I did this? Or what if I combined it? So he will negotiate multiple things to get a better price for something. Or he says, like, there's some things he's had ideas for that were early on when his community wasn't as big. And he's like, oh, well, you know what? Let's shelf that until we're bigger and it makes sense to do 30,000 of these. And that's what he's done. But he's very mindful of where it is, and he's very good at communicating and saying, okay, well, how do I get to this price point? Because he knows what he needs to get because there's a multiplier, right? Here's what your cost of goods are to the door. What do I need to for my profit? But that covers everything else and future development. So one of the things too is it's not just about selling something. It's about making sure you have funds to restock it and you have funds to develop new stuff. And he's combined that. And what he'll do is he'll call up and says, well, I want to do this. And if the price point is out there, then he's like, all right, well, what do we need to do to get it at this point? Well, usually it's volume, or we modify the model or the product in a way that hits a certain cost for him. Because some people have a vision. Everybody has that, I want this dragon where you could see every scale and this, and this, and da, 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 da. And you're like, okay, great. It's going to cost this. Oh, I only want it for this cost. Well, we can reduce the detail because a lot of the higher end stuff comes with higher detail, which means higher end tooling, more assembly parts. So we could do, so currently right now we do 2 miniatures per tool. We could get more detail if we did 1 miniature per tool, but that would mean increased cost per model.
Right.
And so those are the kind of decisions you make to facilitate a affordable product. Because again, one thing you highlighted is some people's turn on and turn offs is cost. And some of these products, I know myself walking into the store and spending $38 for one model was a turnoff for me to continue buying models.
Right.
I'm like, I spent $38 for this one model and it wasn't even that great.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I needed it for my army. So he's very conscious about that. Like, how do I get people to come in and be able to afford this and be happy and build the community?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So, What are some of the Catalyst specific projects that, like, Mad Cat aside, because that was really cool. What have been some of the Catalyst projects that have been most exciting to you?
I love BattleTech. I play BattleTech. Um, but I can't talk about the most exciting project that we're working on with you until after PAX.
We're gonna have to bring you back.
Yep, I cannot talk about it. I have seen it. I have been geeked out over it, and all my friends are gonna hate me when they find out that I've known about it and been like, but it is big. And but again, it's a different thing, right? It's different. It's gonna hit different people differently. I'm very excited about it because for us, it captivates and highlights our skill sets and beyond what you're seeing now with BattleTech. We do miniatures. That's professional. We also do more than just, we do bigger miniatures too. We do all sorts of things. So you'll talk about it at PAX Unplugged and you'll know exactly what it is. As far as currently what everybody knows about, this last Kickstarter really, when we got to the vehicles and stuff like that, I was excited. When we did the first little elementals, the first Kickstarter, I was really excited about that. I think we learned something with the second one because there's only so much you can do. People got, and I'll address this if you don't mind.
Sure.
The small little infantry guys that everybody was. Some people were like, "Oh, they're not details." Yes, you could print those 3D differently. You can do that. You can't inject 90,000 of those in a week without making some sacrifices. Now, we would redesign those completely if we could, right? So the next ones will be even better. But we've learned what it is, and so we've gone that back. But it's so hard. I mean, these are steel. These are a steel tool. They're injected in there, and it's 90,000 sets, not 90,000 of each one. It's hundreds of thousands of the other ones. So, but the vehicles, the helicopters, the planes, the tanks, they were different. It was just one of those things where it's like it was exciting to see us do something other than mechs. We do a lot of mechs, and some of the future projects that expand past that are kind of excited more about that too. But that's it. That's something you can't talk about either. Yeah,
So,
yeah, I can't talk about that either. Yeah,
so click the
sorry.
little bell, follow and the channel so that you get all the notifications when we're. I'll have to make that link this week now, so that you guys can follow the stream for PAX.
All right, let's pause for a second. I'm gonna put a cone of silence on Rim. You don't understand the stuff that we're working on right now is for Catalyst is ooh, wow, nice. I mean, nice. Our specialty is a certain type of model. We're doing certain things. When she announces it, you're all going to be like, woo! So trust me, ring the bell, stay tuned for PAX because you'll be excited. So
And follow Liya's channel for peeks behind the scenes.
follow Liya's channels for the reality of what happens in China's manufacturing. First, the idea that, oh, it's kid labor, it's this and that. No, you don't. There are bad places all over the world. Linda is she has mixed the Western style uh, of running a business and treating employees and everybody with respect and honor, and the Eastern side of manufacturing. And so we like to show our videos off and say, hey, this is how it really is in the factory. These are who assemble your pieces. These are the people that I love seeing their faces. And you can actually, what's cute is when you see their faces, they try not to smile at the camera. And so you can see them go, I'm on camera, and get a little bit excited for like a half a second and then go, oh, stout. I'm assembling a model. So it's always like to catch those little expressions too. So what else can I answer for you?
Gosh, all right. So that was your favorite Catalyst products. What's come out that's non-Catalyst that you're like, this was so cool for us to work on? It could be gaming or not gaming, but
Well, so Tiny Tina is one of my favorite models. It's hard to see her in there. But it's on my website too. We did for Cryptozoic, we did a Wonder Woman that is phenomenal. It was just a beautiful model we did. And then we work for Widow Workshop as well. And Widow Workshop, we do a lot of painted models for them as well. And they've had some really creative stuff. But one of the lines that I think I was most excited for is when we got into painted miniatures, we did a line from Jasco called Street Fighter. And Street Fighter to me was it was exciting. And for the reasons, not for the reasons some people think. It wasn't about the IP, it was for the manufacturing process. So when we paint something, we start with every component. So like a person's head will get painted first, and it goes to a pad printing machine. So I'm watching these videos come in, and they take this head and it has to do the eyes. This machine just kind of like these little colored nipples, and they dip paint and they come up and they do the eyes, and it's multiple levels. And then those heads go into a tote of nothing but that character's head and that character's arm. And to seeing rows and rows of these blue trays with hundreds of thousands of pieces in them. And then later on, when it's ready, because we can't assemble things till we actually have a packing list and we know who's getting what. And they're like, okay, you're going to send 3,000 of these over to this place. So we make 3,000, get them ready to get shipped. Well, then that tray that had thousands or hundreds of thousands of pieces now has 30 fully assembled models.
Wow.
And to watch that transformation piece, and that Kickstarter was probably the largest Kickstarter I had ever seen for of printed material combination. Every box had 50 plus cards in it. It was exciting. There's 20 plus miniatures that were fully painted up there, working with Capcom, working with Jasco at the time. That was probably my most excited project. That was just a lot going in there.
Wow. Wow. That, like, you made me, I just want to go get a tour of the factory and
Yeah.
see it all in action. Neat.
So.
Oh, that's so cool. All right. So anything else you want to share about you, about your projects, about Liya, before we switch on over to question and answer?
Well, one thing I always want to highlight about Liya is that there's a lot of great manufacturers out there. When I took over, they were like trying to fish for everything. And one of the things that I showed Linda through time was if you took on everybody, you're going to hurt everybody. If you have your crew, your clients, right? We take on new clients, but they're generally word of mouth recommendations or something that really catches our attention that we're like, we really want to do that. Other than that, if we took on every client, then what happens is when I have Asmodee Global who wants Ticket to Ride, they want 500 million of something printed, or Lauren wants something done. My capacity is at a certain thing. So the machines are busy. I start throwing in other clients. All of a sudden, my capacity gets overwhelmed, and our capabilities fall apart. And the reason you see failed Kickstarters that are 3-4 years from going bankrupt is because sometimes not only is it the production manufacturer or the publisher's fault, but sometimes the factories have taken on projects that they can't meet deadlines, which costs increased cost. And so I'm always telling people, like, be mindful of who you're working with, because if that partner isn't taking care of their business, they're just trying to take care of everybody's business. They're not always a good partner. And one thing that I love about Lauren is quick to say, where are we at with capacity? How can you do this over here? Do we need it? Do we need more time? Do we need to switch? So he's willing to work with us when he's already given us 9 projects to work on, and they come up with a new one. He's like, well, why don't we move that to here so that we don't affect your capacity or our capability of getting product out.
Neat.
So when you look at manufacturing, sometimes the ones you see running around there with, oh, there's 50 of them. They're not the best one always. They're usually just the busiest one that, cause and effect.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I got some questions for you here from the chat.
Perfect.
Ozzy asks, Chris, with all the minis made by your company, what's been the most exciting or emotionally impacting model that you've been able to see create an impact?
Personally, I think it would have to be the that's a good one. So we do all the trains for Ticket to Ride. We do a lot of the trains. I want to say we do all the trains. We do a lot of the trains, hundreds of millions of trains. There was COVID was hard for everybody. And Asmodee came in with a big order that was bigger than we ever expected to come in because they were preparing. And that had an emotional impact on everybody. That allowed us to keep things going when there was nothing else going on there. And that was one of those cause and effects that was just like, wow. Personally, though, relationship building wise, I have to say, the 4-inch BattleTech miniature we gave to Lauren expanded our relationship to another level.
Aww.
Like it was one of those things where we had made a step of something. Linda believed in us so much that she did this. and she allowed us to have the tools to show that we're just not somebody that's just going to make something for you. We're just going to invest in you also. And that was one of the things where it helped me get closer with my, one of my key clients. And I could tell at the table his excitement and joy of something that he had never even thought of coming to fruition. And that was like, it made having the milkshake at the end even better. So,
Aw, awesome.
yeah.
Aw, yay. Lorcan asks, would Liya make models of their injection molding machines in the same way Bandai do the ones at the Gundam factory?
Well, Liya will do anything you want if you're paying us. So yeah, if you wanted to. I don't know if there's a client base for that. I think that'd be more like a 3D STL file for somebody. But like I said, check out the videos. And actually the injection machines, we've just added more injection machines and we've added robotic arms to avoid wear and tear on the employees.
Wow.
So the employees it's hot. It's really heated. You'll see these big, huge fans and the machines are very hot. And so we've added some robotic arms to help facilitate pulling the pieces off to the employees were like, hey, yeah, we want to do something else in the factory. Can we do something to automate this process? So yeah, we could, those would be really cool actually.
Neat.
But yeah, if a client wants to have us do that, we'll make whatever you want,
Cool. A couple questions for me. Turbo Turtle asks, what's the status of the Gen Con interviews? Will they be all out before PAX Unplugged? No, not by PAX Unplugged. We still have a lot of them to do. We just got to get them into editing. I was hoping for one a week, but that just hasn't happened with capacity on everything. So, and then I'm a blame Tyler. If you're in chat, I'm blaming you, Tyler. He and I had conflicting schedules for a couple weeks, so I needed him to upload the files that he had from his computer, and they haven't been done yet. So once I have access to all of them, they should be able to move faster because then I can assign them to more people. G Stillings asks, any word on when the replacement salvage packs will be shipping for those of us who have received multiple packs with vehicles in them? I mentioned in chat before we went live here, that is one of the several projects that Tyler's been trying to sort through. I know he's got like over 400 emails and we've got 400 messages on the Kickstarter. Now, granted, a lot of them are, when is my stuff shipping? And the answer is going to be contact QML. But he's got to get through those. And then he has saved everyone that has emailed that he's processed about the minis, the salvage boxes. Those we might just ship directly from PSI if there's nothing else that needs to be shipped from QML, just so that we can handle those as one-offs. But he's got to get all of those different projects because he's handling the store credits, he's handling the salvage boxes, he's handling. There's been a couple of other project, like he has a list of, I think, the Art of War and the Sun Tzu that were missing from orders originally, and whatever else has come up. It's all him, and he is delegating to his team the best he can, but they've all got high capacity too. So, but those will be resolved. Ryan asks, I guess it's for me / Chris. Is there any chance we could get unassembled mechs? What about hard plastic? Could that be a thing? I'm sure it could be.
So hard plastic hips, which we call that hips, that's a different product line, and unassembled is something they've looked at. It's a change it's a specific model. It'd be specifically, like, say we'll take the Mad Cat, for example. We could do that in hips, and that would be and that can be done unassembled, which is still PVC. It's just Catalyst has to feel that they have a client base for that, and it's not with their current product model, right? The current range is open and play, right off the box.
Right.
They have unassembled models they're doing, not through Liya, with their premium line right now that you can get available in the store, I believe, right? But that's the unassembled. As far as hips, that's a Lauren decision and Randall decision where they, future development, that's where they want to go. But those would be that's a different direction.
Pivot in our how we do everything.
Well, and they can do isolated items. They can say, hey, here, we'll do a test. Here's this model that has all this extra parts and everything like that, that we're going to do in hips. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a complete pivot. It could be an isolated product. But is it going to be something that's good enough to be restocked over and over again?
Mhm.
So what model do you do it? That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
You go from there.
Okay. What else do I got? Chris, who chooses the music for the production of the YouTube clips?
I do all the clips, and I use the same song over because it's free off the app that I use to create the videos. So I try to keep it as low volume as possible, but yeah, I'm the one that chooses it. And because I do like 20 of them at a time, I just keep the same song and just change the art, the videos inside the contents.
Cool. Les James asks, the second Star League Force Pack and the BNN exclusive McCarran box. Any news on either of those? Yes, actually. So I have been pushing, I think both of them actually, if I'm remembering correctly. We were hoping to drop in November. Yesterday they hit PSI. So it probably is not going to turn around fast enough for the November release date. So, but they will be in the December release date. So that release date is December 11th. So they should be on track for December 11th. Wargriz is asking, what's the status of Leviathans? I'm not sure when the last backer update was. I've been trying to, excuse me. I've taken over doing the Mercenaries Kickstarter updates every week, just to make sure, because there's only so much we're allowed to say, but I want to say as much as I'm allowed to say. So if I control the language rather than Tyler, then if I say something I shouldn't, then everyone can get mad at me instead of him. So everyone, like QML and on our end, I mean the community too, what the hell. But I haven't been, I know he's been working on all the Kickstarters behind the scenes, but I haven't been paying as much attention to that. So I'm going to have to get you an answer for next week on that one. I know
And
we're planning
not
to talk about it at PAX. What's up?
Yeah, and just to be clear, Liya is not doing Leviathan. We passed on that.
Right.
So.
It's a different manufacturer.
Yep.
Gordon James asks, is it possible to inject different colors to molds for multiple colored items?
Well, and that's where you get your grinder kits. Your grinder kits right now are injected color with light wash on top of those. So when you see the grinder kits come out in the stores for the demo sets, those are all injected colors. We can inject anything, any color a customer wants. We can inject the model. Now, the reason they're mostly all gray is because gray actually shows the details. We had a line where we wanted to do white, and you see a white model, it looks fragile. It doesn't look good. It doesn't show any natural shading. It's terrible. So most people, as you see across the industry, everybody uses one of 3 or 4 different shades of gray. But yes, if you look at the grinder kits, they're all injected colors.
They are injected, but would you be able to do 2 different colors in one model?
No. You possibly could inject the ports in there, but I want to say with our current injection machines, we probably wouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
What we would probably do is put a seamless injection where we would inject 2 pieces and just combine them together.
Gotcha.
In a way that you wouldn't even tell that it was 2 different pieces.
Okay.
You can inject pour in there, but those are different machines, and those are generally you find that more in hips, and that's more expensive. That's very higher end kind of things. You see a lot of that with Bandai or some of the other things out of Japan.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure exactly what this question is. It's from James Hill. What about mech scale dropships? Did you guys work on the dropships?
Yeah, we did all the dropships. Yeah, that's a great idea. I don't know. Maybe somebody will announce something like that in the future. They can be done. They can be done.
Awesome. I think that is all of the questions that I have, unless something last minute comes in. We've only got 5 minutes left, so we may wrap a couple minutes early here.
Why wrap up? Let's talk about other things. So I don't know nothing about you, Rem.
What?
How did you get into Catalyst? You showed up at a booth one day. You're like, hey, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, hey.
You're flipping the script on me, and I'm not.
How did you get on Catalyst? Well, then you know what? I'm sorry. I just, that's how it is. But you gave me 5 more minutes, and I gave you an hour.
That's funny. Okay. All
How
right.
did you get into Catalyst?
I started working with them. My D&D group played had a new player, and he was one of the writers for Shadowrun.
Okay.
2 years later, I wanted to tell our story, so I wanted to make a live action series. And I wrote a pilot script, and the writer introduced me to Jason Hardy.
Okay.
A year later, after working on those edits with Jason, I was introduced to Lauren. This is the very fast version. And and Lauren was like, cool, let's do a promo thing as a proof of concept kind of thing, which is how I created
Right.
my company, Alternis Productions, just for that at the time. And then COVID hit, and I realized after we did the Kickstarter for the proof of concept trailer, I was like, man, that was hard. I could do this to make lives easier for other people. Because one of the best bits of advice I ever got was, you're ready to run your first Kickstarter after you've run your first Kickstarter.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I can
Yeah.
help people with this. So my company started doing that for business, and so we one of our first contracts was with Catalyst for Edge Zone,
Okay.
and then we ran that campaign, and then in January I started pestering Lauren about the Mercenaries campaign, but Lauren doesn't always do things. He does things on his schedule. So 2 weeks before the launch of the campaign, he was like, hey, can we hire you to do this campaign? And as we were talking about all the elements of contracting and stuff, we were talking about marketing and promotion, and I was like, you could just hire me to market for you full time. And he's like, well, look at your rates. Like, I can't afford you. And I was like, you're paying consulting rates, my friend. And so we negotiated, and he hired me that week. So um, that's how I started. So I've been with the company. In March will be 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So Lauren, I always talk about, Lauren likes to have a puzzle. Sometimes he doesn't have all the pieces there, and he goes, yeah, yeah, cool. And then he walks away. And then later he grabs like 6 more pieces, and he's like, yeah, here's my finished puzzle. And then here's my expected date, right? Like that's how it is. So you're just one piece of the puzzle that made that all work. Well, that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, our industry is so, there's some good sides and bad side about our industry, but when you sit back and I've luckily been here for 20 plus years. The individual stories. There's God, if I want to name drop somebody that's been a fascinating person to watch is like Ross Thompson.
Ooh,
You
I
know,
love him.
yeah. So Ross is, I mean, he's with uh
Atomic Mass.
Asmodee North. Yeah, Atomic Mass Asmodee, now. But I've watched him over the years just grow and mature and get better and better and better at what he does, where he's the best of what he does.
Yeah,
Right. There's so many people I've watched.
The marketer in the industry to me. Like
Right.
I want to be him when I grow up.
Yeah, Derek's another good guy. There's just a lot of good people out there that I've watched that have been like watching them. And again, what cracks me up is I'm 51 years old, so I'm older. I've seen things, but I now understand when someone says watching the kids get older. I understand that because I've watched Derek. I mean, we were sitting at Gen Con one time. We got 2 minutes. So I'll make this quick. And all of a sudden, this guy comes right after Private Press, and I'm talking to one of my friends, and we're at the Steak and Shake right outside the hall, right? And this guy just comes in and he bulldozes in the booth. He goes, "You're Chris Frye. I'm Ross, and I need to know you." And I'm like, "What?" And he didn't even. There was no handshake introduction. I'm a vet. I didn't know how to react. I was like, well, and then, but now Ross, every time we see each other, it's a big old hug and a handshake and everything. And because he has no problem making introductions, I prefer an isolated life. But when I'm outside, I'm social. If I'm in front of people, I need to talk. I'm social. If not, I can be fine in my own little shell. But yeah, there's people like that, and I'm glad I met you. And again, Mike Ritchie, who's now on board with the team, all the people, all the pieces of the puzzles that Lauren has come to basically relieve Randall of all this work because, and now Talon's on board more. I'm just happy to see it grow, so it's a good thing.
Yeah,
and thank you again for inviting me on.
Of course, I do have to say that and I've said this a lot publicly. I'm not afraid of it. Come at me, Lauren. But I've said, like, Catalyst is very well intentioned. Sometimes it doesn't always happen the way we hope. One example is just doing a 400 SKU Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
I was on board for too, because to me, we know that the online store shipping is a problem internationally, and I was like, well, this gives everyone an opportunity internationally, worldwide, to get all the stuff they're missing and want, and have it all shipped by someone else that can, they're going to save on shipping overall. So it was good intentions, and then actually executing on all of this, like all the roadblocks that have come up, which they do for every Kickstarter. But it's a lot of well intention, but sometimes the execution is like, oh, gutting. But I do have to say that, like, everyone at Catalyst that I've worked with, they're good people. They have good intentions. I'm proud to stand by them. So
let's talk about that real quick and help your viewers see something. Kickstarter is a big. I'm passionate about Kickstarter, right? I've seen it succeed. I've seen it fail. So one of the things that, again, when we talk about partners and stuff like that, right, that hurts Kickstarters is when you have multiple partners. You're trusting them. So when Lauren calls us and says, I want this, and I say it's going to be in this state, you're going to get it. As long as we get all of our files on time and approvals, we're going to meet that. It's a math game. Some of our manufacturers out there don't have their math down pat. And like I said, they go out and grab other projects. Now those projects they're grabbing are competing with your projects. So like this last Kickstarter, I watched everything, and there may have been, honestly, 3 items that could have dropped at the end that would have saved 6 months.
yeah.
And those are the things, because those are different people. And that's why I've always made sure people realize that what Liya takes on, we'll take credit. If we mess up, we're the first ones to say we messed up. But I think, like you said, you don't know Kickstarting until you've done your first Kickstarter. But Catalyst has learned from each Kickstarter and not failed any Kickstarters. And he's also learned what partners to work with on future Kickstarters and which ones not to work with because of their experiences. And again, my job and the other people that do my job at other companies is make us believe that we're the best. So where I've changed over 30 years is when I was learning at Pepsi, it was like, I could be a used car salesman. I could be this and this. I'm all about confidence. You don't want to work with us because you're not confident in us. Once you're confident, our customers don't leave us unless we really screw up.
Well,
And
I give you mad props too, and Liya, because the fact that the maximum that our wildest dreams could have anticipated for this Kickstarter was 4 million. And so the fact that we have to publish when we expect to fulfill before the Kickstarter even launches, and then once it's launched, you can't change it. So June 2024 was that date, and the fact that you now had to produce 3 times that many minis and product and still got it to us by June is wild to me. So thank you for that.
So there's 2 factors in that. I don't want to take full credit. I gotta give mad props myself to 2 people. One is Linda being willing to invest more into making sure the product got shipped out. We add more labor, we get more equipment. We're like, great, we can adjust this. The other one's got to be Scotty from Star Trek. So one thing at Scotty at Star Trek is, you said, I need this done. Lauren does this. I need this done in this minute. That's going to take me 5 weeks to do that. I have it in 3. So we always quote with a buffer, because we know our clients are going to get sick. We know our clients are going to travel. We know our clients are going to. So we give ourselves a few buffers in certain categories that allows us to look better when they are a week late or 2 weeks late. And then we have a buffer we can add some people. But we also, like I said, it's a math game for me. And one of the first things I did when I came in, every quote used to say 90 days. And again, publishers watch this, they're going to laugh. Every quote out there would say, oh, we could do everything in 90 days. And what happens once we got the project, who cares when you get it? Because you've already signed the contract.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for us. That's that whole Western side versus Eastern side where it doesn't work for us. So our quotes have exactly broken down in timetables. And if something takes, hey, this is going to take you 14 months. And like, oh, I need it in this way. It's going to take 14 months, no matter who you ask. And then when people started watching our quotes and went to other companies and realizing the project was taking 14 months, they're like, wait a second, let's go back to Liya, because we won't look bad.
Yeah.
And again, Randall giving us the product and the spec sheets ahead of time gave us the vision board to sit there and estimate when we could do our part, which was the plastic, right? That was our part for the Kickstarter. Drop ships alone, because that was a last minute add-on where, again, one of Lauren's 11 o'clock calls, what if we did drop ships from scratch? It's going to take this long, but because we had open projection slots. So one thing we do for our clients is we reserve project slots every quarter for them. Even if they don't have a project, I reserve it so that if they come up with a call, because Asmodee calls and says I need 200 million trains, boom, we're not hurting. Lauren comes up and says, hey, we'd like to do something special for the clients, because he's always like, hey, what do I get for my customers? I want to give them something else.
Yeah.
We have a spot. So we're mindful of that. But it comes down to math. And again, like I said, Scotty's been an inspiration for me forever. And his little like, I need this much more time. And that's part of our motto here,
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for making the time. And thank you guys for joining us. This was really fascinating for me. I learned a ton. So thank you.
No problem. And feel free to call me anytime you need something. Even if it's not for manufacturing, I'll help you out, whatever. I enjoy it.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, I'll see you hopefully at Gamma.
Oh yeah, I'll be Gamma. Gen Con and Gamma are my two shows I always go to. The other ones are inspirational.
Awesome.
So,
all right,
okay.
so I'll see you then. And you guys, I should be here next week. The next time I travel is PAX. So we should be here next week. Thank you all for joining, and have a great rest of your week.
Safe. Bye.